everyone. This is John Kountouris, and welcome to my broadcast, Greek News on Demand. The date is July the 13th, 2016. Today you will be hearing a broadcast from Greek TV on plastic money and how it will be arriving soon to Greece, unfortunately. The broadcast you will be hearing is a dubbed broadcast from Greek TV, from Greek into English, of course. I do the dubbing. It's from a television show called Codex of Mysteries on the Greek channel Astra TV in Greece. And I too appear on this channel as a guest. But this time around you'll be hearing basically another guest speak on the show about this very serious topic. Because, as you all know, plastic money is becoming a huge phenomenon all across Europe. Recently, the Greek government decided to bow the knee even more to the Troika from Europe and implement a program where basically people who want to make transactions in public are going to have to do it using plastic money, debit cards, credit cards. And the reason why the Greek government wants to do this is to monitor everyone's transactions and to make sure basically that they're in a better position to monitor tax evaders. So this has become a huge issue in Greece. And already, starting this month, basically transactions over a certain euro amount are basically now going to have to be done using plastic money, which is something like 100 euros, particularly on Greek islands. But starting July the 1st, 2017, economists now are saying that the Greek government is going to introduce a program where plastic money is going to be used across the board for all public purchases. So this is a huge issue. So the broadcast you're about to hear, which I dubbed into English, is going to talk about this. It's also going to talk about the fact that in other European Union countries like Sweden, plastic money is already a major thing. In Sweden, for example, 80% of public transactions now are done using plastic money. So stand by, and I hope you enjoy this broadcast. This is John Kountouris. You're listening to Greek News on Demand. My website is GreekNewsOnDemand.com. That's one word, GreekNewsOnDemand.com. And there you can find basically all of the latest news that we publish in both Greek and in English. For the English section, just look for our English articles button on the top bar on the upper part of our website. Hello everyone, this is John Kountouris, and welcome to Greek TV. Today I will be doing the dubbing over from Greek into English of a broadcast of a friend of mine. His name is Vasilis Badidis. His show is called Codex of Mysteries. It's aired on regular Greek TV every Saturday night on the Astra channel in Greece. His show airs many interesting broadcasts that have to do with science fiction, conspiracy theories, mysteries of the ancient Greeks, etc., etc. The people on his show are very prominent journalists, researchers, authors, historians, scientists. I appear on his show too. Vasily is also a member of our group, GreekNewsOnDemand.com. It's a journalistic group that is composed of some of the best journalists out there. We publish both in Greek and in English, GreekNewsOnDemand.com. My personal website is johnkountouris.com. That's JOHNKOUNTOURIS. Stand by as we're going to now get into the broadcast, Codex of Mysteries.
Καλησπέρα σας κυρίες και κύριοι. Ένας ακόμη κώδικας μυστηρίων ξεκινά ζωντανά από τα στούντιο της τηλεόρασης.
And this discussion is revolved around the new IDs that they want to impose on us, which we'll talk about later. The IDs concerning Greece, and we all know that the order has been taken by circles outside of Greece, right? This isn't a matter of the Greek government because we know that everything is being controlled by forces outside of Greece. But I'd like to finish talking about the plastic money. So this issue, of course, going back to Sweden with plastic money, how are young people and, of course, older people going to be able to get used to using plastic money when they're not used to dealing with that and, of course, doing transactions online? And in accordance with a Gallup poll in Sweden recently, 2/3 of the population deem it a constitutional right for someone to carry actual cash on him, to have cash in his possession. But a lot of people in Sweden don't want that, and mainly because, Sweden is more of an advanced society now. Let's now talk about Bitcoin. So, what is Bitcoin? Bitcoin is possibly the biggest financial change in the banking sector in, let's say, the past 100 years. Perhaps it's bigger than the initial appearance of credit cards. Yorgos, this sounds like a case where I heard one time where these hackers wanted to take money out of Greek banks, and they basically threatened, saying that basically they didn't want the money in any other form other than in Bitcoin form. And so basically their point was that they couldn't take the money out of the banks in any other way other than Bitcoin. And this occurred about a year ago. And according to publications in Athens, the FBI and the CIA from America participated in this in order to find these people. Simply put, Vasily, when the whole capital controls were imposed on Greece back in July of 2015, there were many companies that were doing transactions only in Bitcoin. And they were doing their transactions in Bitcoin because without it, they couldn't do transactions in other countries. So basically, for our viewers to know, Bitcoin is an entirely digital currency. Bitcoin is not found at all in actual physical form. Okay, Yorgos, basically I want us to discuss the video that's on the screen now that's talking about how children are actually being chipped nowadays. Talk to us a little bit about this, and then we're going to go back to the Bitcoin issue. Okay, Vasily, basically the video doesn't really have to do with chipping children. It has to do with a child who, let's say, goes to a store to buy milk. So this child has money on her. And when she goes to buy milk, the store clerk tells her that she cannot buy milk without using plastic money. So the child is forced to go home, and now we're going to see on the screen from where this child is forced to get milk. So she goes to her father, and the father allows her to get milk from the goats. So I guess, Yorgos, that this video has to do with the replacement of actual physical cash with other forms of payment. But later, Vasily, you will see how the child is forced to get milk from the goats. Okay, Vasily, let's go back to the Bitcoin issue now. As we said, Bitcoin is in an immaterial form. It is not produced by any country. It's not controlled by any bank out there. So it doesn't, this currency does not have to do with bills or actual coins. The way it's produced and saved and circulated, and all the transactions associated with it are done exclusively electronically. This is a cryptocurrency, as it deals with encrypted transactions, and this method is used for the actual handling of the currency, and of course for the guaranteeing of the safety of the actual transactions. Now, let's talk about how Bitcoin was actually created. This idea was first proposed back in 1998 by a gentleman by the name of Wei Dai to a mailing list of fellow activists. And they were discussing about a new method of very strong cryptography. So these guys were like computer geeks, and they were discussing the use of cryptography. However, it took 10 years, and apparently the basis for the beginning of the use of Bitcoin was none other than the collapse of the bank Lehman Brothers at the start of the economic collapse. So, by inspiration of the economic crisis, the first publication on Bitcoin was released, talking about what is Bitcoin. So around 2009, before the economic fallout in Greece, and we all know that this crisis is ongoing, Bitcoin made its first appearance with its client. In other words, Bitcoin made its first appearance with the client called Open Code, along with the creation of the respective actual Bitcoin currencies. Their author and creator operates under a pseudonym, whose name is Satoshi Nakamoto. And his real identity, whether it's an actual person or a group of people, remains still a mystery to this day. But recently, on the 9th of December 2015 in Australia, I think we might have actually pinpointed where the actual Bitcoin creator might be and who he is. In other words, there occurred a raid in a house somewhere in Australia by the police. And this supposed creator of Bitcoin was somehow rooted out. He was found out, I would say. So I'd basically say, that his identity was revealed. Okay, Yorgo, let's now put a close to this issue, and let's go to one of the videos that you've prepared for me. And then afterwards, we're going to go to break, and then we're going to return after several minutes. And now for the interpretation of the video with Vladimir Putin, which states, "Yet another danger for the Russian identity is connected with the processes that we're seeing occur outside of Russia, or rather with the developments outside of Russia, which include foreign policy issues, issues on morality, and other developments. We see in many states of the Western Alliance to have gone down a road of denying and rejecting their roots as nations. Together also with their Christian background that form the basis of Western civilization, of course. Within these states, people are denying the ethical basis and any traditional identity whatsoever. They're relativizing they're making relative the national, religious, political, and even the racial identity, or they're rejecting them altogether. So in these states, what they're doing is making equal, let's say, a normal family with regular children with a family that is homosexual, with a homosexual family, so to speak. They are equalizing faith in God with faith in Satan. The exaggeration and the extremism of political correctness in these countries indeed leads us to think seriously here about the legalization of political parties that promote the propaganda of pedophilia. People in many European states are ashamed of religious persuasions, and in reality are afraid to speak about all of this. Christian holiday celebrations are being abolished and are being renamed are being renamed neutrally, as if basically people are ashamed of Christian holidays. And by doing so, they are hiding the deeper ethical values of these religious celebrations. And these countries are trying to impose this model on other countries worldwide. I am deeply persuaded that this is a direct means of degrading and of backwardsness of human civilization. And this just leads to more graphic and ethical crisis within the West. What could be a greater proof of this ethical crisis in human Western civilization other than the diminishing of reproduction and of continuing human production, basically? And today, nearly all of the developed Western countries are not being able to survive, reproductively speaking, even with the help of immigrants that are migrating to their countries. So, without ethical values that are rooted in Christianity and other religions of the world, and without rules and ethical values that have been formed and developed throughout the centuries, then what this means is inevitably people will lose their human dignity. They're going to become violent. I believe that it is just and right for us to defend these ethical Christian values. Someone has to respect the right of every minority to his right of self-determination. But at the same time, there cannot be or exist any doubt about the rights of the majority in society. At the same time, where we have this process occurring on a national level in the West, we are observing on an international scale efforts to create a monopolic, integrated model of the world in order to relativize and to do away with institutions of international rights and of national sovereignty. In a monopolic and integrated world, there is no room for sovereign nations. Simply put, one such world requires a subservitude. From a historical standpoint, one such monopolic world would mean the surrendering of personal identity and of the variety that God himself created. Russia will stand on the side of those that defend the viewpoint that significant international decisions must be taken on a collective basis and not for the interests of only a single nation or one group of nations. So welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to our show, and we're talking about the issue of a moneyless society, which is being foreseen by those who want to have, let's say, want to maintain open intellectual horizons. And we're talking too about, of course, how all of this is apparently being done by the secret forces that control this planet, and not necessarily by their puppet politicians that they put in power, which is what the international media would have us believe. And now we're going to continue with our friend Yorgos, with our great friend and colleague Yorgos Kountouris, who lives in Athens. Yes, Yorgos, let's continue with our theme. Okay, Vasily, we're going to continue with Bitcoin, and as I said in the first part, apparently the actual creator of Bitcoin was found out. He was arrested in Australia, who was using the pseudonym Satoshi Nakamoto, and now his identity has been revealed. His name apparently is Craig Stephen Wright. And as I said before, the police did a raid on his home. And basically some publications came out indicating that this indeed is the true person behind the pseudonym Satoshi Nakamoto. And so the police who burst into his home and conducted an investigation there, they didn't find that much stuff in his house, though, except for a few unresolved tax issues. So apparently they're going after him for reasons other than Bitcoin. And so this individual, who they say is the founder of Bitcoin, is 44 years old, and he's not known by the public at all. And actually, the Bitcoin currency itself is not well known to the public. But finishing with the Bitcoin story, I would like to tell our viewers how the first actual Bitcoin transaction took place. So, from 2009 up until the beginning of 2010, Bitcoin had almost a zero value. It didn't have any value pretty much at all. But in April of 2010, that's when they started the first transactions with Bitcoin. And at that time, the value of Bitcoin was only something like 17 cents, 0.17 of a dollar. So basically, one Bitcoin equaled around 17. It actually equaled around a penny and a half, roughly. And at that time, the first actual trade transaction was done with this new digital currency. So at a big Bitcoin conference on the 18th of May that year, a guy by the name of Laszlo Hankins offered 10,000 Bitcoin units in order to basically buy 2 pizzas. He basically offered 10,000 Bitcoins to any person who would basically order him 2 pizzas. So after 4 days, a member of Bitcoin by the name of Jarkos, basically this member paid for 2 pizzas with his Bitcoins. And I believe that these pizzas were bought from the pizza chain Papa John's. So basically at this point, Bitcoin's value started to go up. So basically continue with Bitcoin. Bitcoin has unbelievable increases and decreases, ups and downs as it's traded on the stock market daily. In December of 2013, its value was already at $1,400 for every Bitcoin unit. So that was actually at the beginning of December. But towards the middle of December that same year, Bitcoin dropped 500 points in value. And at this moment that we're talking, I'm looking at the value of Bitcoin, and right now it's at about $460+ for every unit. So basically, Bitcoin is just like a regular currency, like the dollar, the yen, the ruble, and so on and so forth. So basically, if one were to espouse the view that there is an elite ruling this world, and who are designing this cashless society, Yorgos, basically, why do they want to do it, and why do they want to use a cashless society? What's their purpose here? Are they going to be able to do this through all this advanced technology we're talking about? What do you say about this, Yorgos? Well, Vasily, the target here, the aim of the New World Order is the control of people through digital and plastic currency, with a currency that's in an intangible form. So their goal is to do away with paper currency in order to achieve their wider goals of bringing about a new world order. And they're going to do this by using, this plastic currency, which is going to lead basically to the complete control of all our lives. So let's talk a little bit about the situation in Greece. And basically, I showed you a video here today on the show where India has been used as the first testing ground for all of this. So in India, they have a population of 1.2 billion people. So basically, India is the first country where they've basically imposed on all of their citizens, we're talking about 1.2 billion, the first form of a biometric identity card, which has to do, apparently, with the scanning of the iris of the eye and with the chipping of the individual. We're talking about the RFID chip here. So basically, many people around the world, many countries already are having this RFID chip imposed on them because many of the new credit cards being issued or debit cards, they already have this RFID chip inserted within them. So, now in the case of Greece. So in Greece now, this POS system is now being proposed to all businesses, to all professionals, to be used as a payment system within their businesses. We're talking about anyone out there who provides a service with their business. So we're talking about a system where you pay only with your credit card or debit card by tapping a certain point on a payment machine. And this system has nothing to do with actual paper money. And I would note here, George, that back in the 1980s, when credit cards were first being introduced in Greece, everyone was saying how this was such a new and strange thing, and they were very apprehensive about it, and were saying, what in the world is this? But I was watching a video also on YouTube recently, how it was a video shot decades ago, how they were saying that in the future people would have their foreheads scanned, and how there would be machines that would scan our eyes and take our information or our identity from that. And so when this video had come out, though, like 30 years ago, people at the time were saying, what in the world is all this? This is just ridiculous. So basically people were talking about all this, regardless basically of prophecies that are mentioned by many out there, Christian Orthodox, about how the book of Revelation predicts all these things. And so the people at this time who made this video we're talking about how, this has nothing to do necessarily with religion. It's just stuff that is already in the works. So basically, at that time, they were called crazy, they were called conspiracy theorists. But this is always the way it's happened. They announced us years in advance that something's going to happen, and basically on such a scale, in other words. And there are a few that really understand what's going on and who speak out. So basically, some will watch us today and say, what in the world is this stuff you're talking about? So, Vasily, with regards to the prophecies in the book of Revelation, in the book of Revelation, it states how basically no one will be able to buy, sell, or trade, unless, of course, he has the mark of the beast upon him, or engraved in him. It says it clearly in the book of Revelation chapter 13. But yes, Yorgos, but there's a lot of people today, like here in Greece, that really doubt all of this, and they don't really believe in all this, unfortunately, because they're so skeptical. That's why this issue needs a lot of thinking through and deep analysis in order for us to really understand what's going on here. 9 out of 10 would say, wow, this is just too fantastical. This is just ridiculous. But at any rate, Yorgos, the theme here is basically, and of course, irrespective of how you actually approach this issue, whether technologically, religiously, or whatever, in a nutshell, people in general understand, indeed, that something very strange is going on here. With regards to the attempt to control humanity, this issue has now become apparent to all. Yes, Vasily, but this is indeed a predetermined plan that's been in the works for the past 5-6 years. This doesn't happen overnight. But it also, at times, is postponed. It's delayed. In other words, for example, the issue about the new IDs, the biometric IDs. This has been discussed many times over the past 4 years. It was discussed last year, the year before that, and the year before that. All this occurs gradually, step by step. It's a conditioning process. Until, of course, it actually is completed. We're talking about this, again, this predetermined plan here by the elite to control us. And, of course, the issue again here is revolving around the biometric IDs and how this ties into a cashless society. Let me give you an example. When the Greek government was going through negotiations with the Troika on, of course, the whole economic bailout plan for Greece called the Memorandum. This all occurred back on the 3rd of April, 2015. On the list, on the Varoufakis list, Varoufakis, of course, was the economic minister of Greece for the first 6 months of Alexis Tsipras' administration. On his list, which he had submitted to the Brussels group at that time. So, on this list, he had clearly stated that he was proposing to abolish all transactions in Greece with cash above $150 limit. So basically, Greeks could do transactions up to 150 euros. But thereafter, anything above that amount would have to be done with credit cards. But sooner or later, little by little, this thing is going to come into effect. But already in the fall of 2015, there were proposals by the Greek government where they were saying how 50% of everyone's salary would be held in a bank account, and the other 50% they'd be allowed to keep. So essentially, what does this mean? It means you'll be allowed to take half of your salary, but the other half will be taken by the bank. The bank will take that and manage it. Yes, on the one hand, it's your money, but on the other hand, the bank is going to keep half of it. But let me tell you something else, too, about the PaySafe card, which we all know about here in Greece. So what happened with PaySafe? Well, when we had the capital controls, the movement of the issuing of PINs for PaySafe cards was stopped. So, for example, if one wanted to do a transaction on the internet with the PaySafe system, he or she could only do it with older PaySafe codes because new ones were not being issued at that time due to the imposition of capital controls in Greece. We're talking about the beginning of July 2015. But 3 months after that, new PaySafe PINs for this PaySafe issued were for this PaySafe payment system were starting to be issued. And we should note too that we're the only country in the world where this has happened during a time of economic crisis. So new PINs in Greece at this time, 3 months later, were issued in the midst, of course, of the capital controls that had been in place already. But these PINs with the PaySafe system could only be used in just a handful of electronic stores. And these PINs could only be used, of course, with Greek online stores because these Greek online stores are connected with the Greek banks. So, for example, a Greek person couldn't use the PaySafe system on Facebook, either buying things or, let's say, playing the casino games there. So in Greece, if someone were to call a bank and ask them what they were able to do, how they were able to make purchases with their credit cards, the bank would tell them that they would be able to use their credit cards abroad only for making trips, for rental cars, for hotels, and of course for student reasons, where a student who is basically studying abroad would need to use his credit card. But pretty much that's it. And of course, these purchases that a Greek would be making or have been making, Greeks have been making, are tied in with this PaySafe system. So, for example, if you want to use your credit card to purchase, let's say, something from Amazon, that's a credit card that's connected with this PaySafe system, you wouldn't be able to do it, because this is tied in only with Greek online shops. So simply, Yorgo, we're just covering the ways that the elite has decided to check people's individual liberties and to control people more. But I must mention, though, that with regards to the chipping issues, the issue about the chipping of individuals, which we're going to cover a little bit later. But before we go there, I just want to make a quick note that I remembered an interview that the former Hollywood producer Aaron Russo had given, where he had given this interview to the known journalist Alex Jones from Austin, Texas. And in this interview, he was talking about how a year before 9/11, he was at a Hollywood party in New York, and he had befriended some members of the Rockefeller family, who basically told him that they were planning 9/11. And afterwards, he started getting into the chipping issue of mankind, and he was getting into aspects of this issue that are just inconceivable for the human mind. Yes, actually, these things about the chipping were being discussed actually at the same party that I mentioned earlier, where Aaron Russo was a guest and where he was talking with the Rockefellers. So the Rockefellers were telling him that, yes, we're going to create these RFID chips and chip people and make them more docile, more controllable in our hands. So Aaron Russo was telling Rockefeller, why do you want to do this, to people? Why do you want to do this to mankind? And the Rockefellers were basically telling him, because we want to keep people under check. We want to keep them under our control. And, of course, I'd like to note, too, Yorgo, the documentary Zeitgeist that has been out for some years now, where it makes recommendations basically about an ideal utopian world, how there will be no more governments, how the political system will be abolished. It also discusses a proposal how to, of course, improve the environment. They also talked about the promotion of some kind of environmental agenda. But, of course, there are some that say that Zeitgeist is completely controlled by Freemasonic interests who are promoting their propaganda through this documentary, which happens to be one of the most known documentaries out there on 9/11 and other issues related to it. And, of course, we have a confession from Henry Kissinger himself, where he talks about how in the future human beings will be chipped and thus controlled thereby. We're talking about unbelievable stuff here. But who really has a desire to really get into these things, to really pay attention to what's going on and find out the truth about these things? But anyway, Vasily, just to continue here, as I said before, Greeks with this payment system are only allowed to use it abroad in cases where they're going on a trip and they have to pay for a hotel, etc. Also for students' expenses when they're studying abroad. A friend of mine told me, who is a tradesman, that any type of business that does, Greek business that does business abroad, and basically who's dealing with huge volumes of cash in order to buy huge volumes of products to ship them into Greece, to basically do imports and exports, let's say, that if one in Greece needs to do all this, he would have to then file an application with the Bank of Greece and receive approval from it. So basically we have, in this case, capital controls a la carte. So basically, the government and the banks choose to impose capital controls as they wish. And people like us, Vasily, who are only allowed to withdraw 420 euros a week from the bank, we're forced to see businesses who receive approval from the Bank of Greece to do trade, high volume trade that involves, a lot of cash. Businesses that can import tons and tons of products from abroad, whether we're talking about, let's say, cars or TVs, electronic products. So in other words, what type of capital controls are we talking about here? Capital controls at will, capital controls a la carte. George Yorgo, we're talking about a Greece that operates basically on two levels. You have the big depositors who have special rights, and then, of course, you have the smaller depositors like us who don't have rights. A friend of mine from Ithaiki in Greece told me recently that about 3 years ago, someone on this same island, Ithaiki, had won the lottery there, but he wasn't paid in cash, he was paid in bonds. And I don't think that this issue needs any more clarification. It's just indicative of what we're talking about this time of crisis. And of course, we have this other case in Greece where this guy won the Joker lottery, several $1 million, and we're all wondering, since there's capital controls in place in Greece, how's this guy going to be able to get his money? In other words, the daily withdrawal limit for every average citizen is 420 euros a week. So this guy who won this lottery, is he going to be able to only draw 420 euros a week, or are they going to give him more than that? So let's talk about the new ID cards in Greece. The government is geared toward replacing our ID cards, which are normally issued from local police stations, under pressure, however, from the United States of America and from the European Union. Because all of this started when John Kerry visited, recently Athens, Greece. And also with the threat of reintroducing the visa program for all Greek travelers who want to come into America, at the Greek Ministry of the Protection of Citizens. There has already been made up this brand new committee there, where they're working out this proposal concerning the new technical characteristics of the new Greek IDs. So it's already been discussed that the new Greek ID cards will have the fingerprint in it and two pieces of biometric data from every Greek. One of which will be, let's say, the imprint from the iris of the eye of the individual. So as you understand, Vasily, all of these things have been predetermined, pre-planned years ago for Greece. So, Vasily, referring back to that verse in Revelation in the Bible, basically what we're seeing is that everything that's been written there is slowly, literally being revealed before our eyes. All this is taking place step by step. And let me say this too, Vasily, on the issue of human control, which we're talking about. Basically what they're trying to do is control people to the degree where they're not going to be able to use money at all. Where this person won't even have a dime to his name. He won't be able to possess cash. But in the ensuing decade, where we're going to see how people are not going to be allowed to possess anything, cars, houses, and how we're going to be basically put to work in large urban centers. And the people will not be allowed to receive a salary, and all they're going to get is a simple form of housing, meals, and other expenses of theirs will be covered, but that's it. But as we were speaking before about plastic money, a potential hacker out there can break into your account and steal your money. But not just that, he'll be able to know everything about you. We're talking about how a hacker will be able to do all this to an individual under this new type of plastic money system. So, for example, if you go to the doctor for a problem, your data will be logged in their system in the hospital. So, concerning this that I was talking about before, about 2 years ago, in America, there was voted this bill. The bill in Congress was called S-510, the Food Safety Modernization Act of 2010. And basically, what it does is it precludes the public's right to grow, own, trade, transport, share, feed, and eat each and every food that nature makes, which is nothing more a gift to the multinational corporations out there. So what this means is that if one wants to obtain seeds to grow crops, he has to buy them from a multinational company. He can't have his own. So essentially the United States government forces small farmers and growers, food growers, into poverty. And if you can imagine such a system being implemented in Greece, it would mean the end of Greece, because Greeks depend upon their crops. And now let's go, George, Yorgo, to a video that basically sums up here what we're talking about.
Everyone, this is Dan Dix reporting for Press for Truth TV. As technology continues to advance on an exponential curve, the everything you do, we are already under the watchful eye of Big Brother through the monitoring of our online activity. But now the elite want to take it one step further by collecting your biometric information. In fact, one of the biggest and boldest steps in this direction is currently underway in India, where all 1.2 billion of its residents are currently being outfitted with a unique identification number.
India's unique identification program started just a year ago. If it succeeds, India will become the first country in the world using biometric data for identity purposes on a national scale. Its first phase is aimed at the poor.
Each number will be tied into 3 pieces of biometric data: fingerprints, iris scans, and a picture of the face. The biometric identity number will be entered every time someone accesses services from government departments, driver's license offices, and hospitals, as well as insurance, credit card, telecom, and banking companies. They are currently processing over 1 million people a day. Now, they say that it is not mandatory, but if you want to have a bank account, if you want to have a driver's license, if you want access to government services, hospitals, food programs, you're going to have the number, so essentially you do need to get it. Mahatma Gandhi must be rolling in his grave. As the founding father of an independent India, he was known for his resistance to tyranny through massive civil disobedience. But sadly, now India has become the testing ground for an eventual global cashless society. Canadians are also slowly going down this path. In fact, according to Citizenship and Immigration Canada, implementing biometrics will bring Canada in line with other countries. And the linking of our biometric information on a shared database with the American authorities is moving us another step closer to a North American Union. There are products available on the market, such as this RFID blocking passport cover, so that you can protect your information. You see, in this Big Brother Orwellian nightmare, people being treated like criminals will become second nature, and the ones who are pulling the strings know that it works best if you train them when they're young. This is well underway and currently being carried out by the Free Masonic Lodges of Canada through their initiative, Masonichip. which stands for Masonic Child Identification Program, where parents are being encouraged to give their child's biometric information to the Masons for safekeeping in order to track a missing child. Freely handing over our biometric information is currently being normalized through products like Siri's voice recognition app for the iPhone and the Xbox Kinect, which scans all of your features. Remember, our liberties are taken away from us incrementally. So let's fight this every step of the way and not be treated like criminals by handing over our fingerprints and eye scans. Gandhi showed us by his example that non-violent civil disobedience does work. So as this agenda continues to develop, let's just simply not play along. Global non-compliance is an idea that scares the elite. So let's make it happen.
JJ from Against the Wall, and you're listening to UCY.